Hey guys, Cody Adair here. I'm joined with Tom from Spectrum, Tom Cogswell.
Hey
Happy to
guys.
have you here, Tom. We are
Yeah.
here on our Air Show Hangout, episode 3. So we're happy if you guys are joining us, and we appreciate you guys being here. We wanted to take some time to invite Tom to the show, talk about Spectrum, what's going on with Smart, what's going on with the new AR637T, maybe walk through a little bit of the tutorials on how to set that up. So Tom, we're happy to have you here, and why don't we go ahead and throw down some questions in here.
Yeah, so this one I felt like we're going to treat as a Q&A session. So if there's somebody that has questions about Spectrum or really anything Horizon related, even though this is the Air Hangout, I'm happy to answer some surface related questions if anybody has them and they want to jump on here. And yeah, so again, I'm Tom Da Bomb Cogswell. I was given that name by my friend Luke. Actually, I introduced myself that way in one of my very early videos for Spectrum, and he's like, "Oh, okay, cool. So you're Tom the Bomb now." But yeah, so Tom Cogswell. Happy to meet everybody. You've probably seen my face a few times. I am the brand manager for Spectrum and Blade. I am also the team manager for the Heli team and our FPV team. So if you guys watch or follow any of our FPV or Heli guys, hi to Justin Coe out there. He's probably one of our top YouTuber guys that we have on the team. I like Justin. He does a great job with tutorials on helicopters. So if you guys need help with helicopters, I would implore you to check out the Coe Show on YouTube. He does a great job.
So Tom, how did you start at Horizon? How long have you been with the company? Where did you start? And I guess where are you at now?
That's a great question. So like I said, I am a brand manager, but I'm an associate brand manager. So that's kind of a lower level brand manager. We get associate, mid-range, which is brand manager, and then we have senior brand manager. Me and Cody are actually both associate brand managers. But that's not bad. It's just, it's how you get your foot in the door. So I started at Horizon about 9 years ago. I think I'm almost 10 now. And I started in product support, and that's our tech support, our phone call guy. So if you called me up and you're talking to me, what I would do, and this is just a way for me to break the ice. I'm always a guy that's about, putting a little bit of theatrics on things, trying to break the ice, make everybody feel welcome. And I would answer the phone. Thank you for calling Horizon Hobby Product Support. You're talking to Tom. And I felt like you could always feel it on the other side of the phone. Somebody's smiling, even if they're mad or they have a problem or they need help. They know that they got somebody there to help them out, and that's what I'm here for. And I love it. It's one of my passions is helping people out.
Absolutely, and I think Tom and I come from a very similar background, guys. I mean, like I said, if you know me, I started in product support as well. I actually worked with Tom for a number of years in product support, and it's kind of funny because we have very similar stories. I've been with the company almost 9 years as well.
Cheers to you.
Right, cheers to you. And we both,
just water, FYI.
Yeah, and we ended up in a very similar position. So, like we said, we're both very, very fortunate for the things that Horizon has done for us, and we're in positions now that we can interact with the community like you guys, and it's a really fun job. I do the air side on the E-flite category. As you can see, I got a UMX timber chilling above my case up there, and Tom does the Spectrum and the Blade side. So he's got a lot of helicopters you can see behind him there. Some of the quads that we work with out here at Horizon. He's got a really cool
an Airwolf that I've been working on for a friend of mine.
Yeah, very cool.
FPV stuff, boat down there. I put smart technology in this UL19 down there. Smart in this JTA Gamebird. That's an awesome flat foamy. If you guys are looking into getting into something like that. The 15 amp ESC works great on that. And then I've got my Fusion 480. It's over here. There we go. That I've been repairing. I kind of smashed that, but it's almost ready.
I see a really awesome boat behind you there too.
Yeah, the UL19 down there. That's
that thing rocks.
I put the new 160 amp boat smart ESC in there, and I'm going to be running it on ADAS and see if I can't blow up the motor or not. So
the RC Air Marshal's here, guys. He does some really cool 630. He did some 637 Spectrum programming videos. He does a really good job as well.
Yeah,
definitely head over and check out his channel, guys. For
cheers to Dave.
Thank you. Dave, great work on your part. And he said Tom plays with the cool stuff, Cody. Well, Dave, all my cool stuff is in another room.
He's got secret cool stuff. So do I.
I got secret cool stuff. Tom has a really cool balcony and a nice, fenced-in backyard. I have a room And I have a garage, but unfortunately, my office isn't in my garage, so you guys can't see all of my cool stuff.
Right. I've got 2 garages, my fenced-in backyard, my back porch, which has been my impromptu work area right now, because my fenced-in garage, which as you guys can see is, or not garage, my garage back there, my workshop is completely full with airplanes right now that are also in the middle of being repaired or projects. So that's what I've been doing during quarantine, is starting projects that I'm probably not going to finish for another year.
You know, isn't that like the highlight? I mean, come on. We actually painted our house. I think we made more mistakes painting our house than when it was before. So
really?
We had to go back and do it again. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But I see you also have your iX20 on the table there, which is something really cool.
I do.
Tom has a way of actually
check this out, guys.
Showing the stream, the screen of his iX20.
Ooh, shakalaka.
And he can navigate with his computer too. So I think that's really cool. He's not even touching the iX20. He can navigate around from his computer.
I can use my mouse to go between all the different screens on my iX20. So if you guys have questions about Smart or the AR636, which is what I have bound to it right now, we can go to forward programming and we can start programming an AR636 or AR637. I'm sorry, 637T. As it says there down at the bottom. Too many numbers that are almost the same.
Right.
But that's really cool. So my buddy Miguel, shout out to him, showed me how to do that. And yeah. So.
Jay, you're right. My wife did paint the house. It was like a 70-30 there for sure. Me being the 30, unfortunately, but we won't get into that.
It's actually my anniversary with my wife today, and I took an hour or so out of my day to hang out with you guys. She understands. It is.
Sylvia's awesome. Sylvia's awesome.
Yeah, Sylvia. She actually works for Horizon as well. So that's a great thing about Horizon. I don't know. Maybe a lot of companies aren't like this, but they don't encourage spouses to work together. But I've never had a problem. There's a few different couples that work at Horizon, and I think that's really cool.
That's true. I will say I have worked alongside Tom for 10 years, and I do see him and Sylvia together quite a bit in the office, and I don't ever see him throwing down or anything, so they get along pretty well. It works out pretty good.
Happy anniversary, baby. It's I mean, she's really my best friend, so we get along really well.
So, guys, like we mentioned before, this is kind of a hangout. Notice Jason is not in here with us right now, guys. Jason is currently in a meeting. He will be joining to hang out later. Again, we just kind of want to hang out with Tom and answer any questions you guys might have in the chat. Any questions pertaining to the air side, I'd be happy to answer. Any questions pertaining to Blade, FPV, the iX20, iX12, anything related to Smart, Tom is here to help as well.
Yeah. One thing that I want to do during this live is... so what we're doing for Spektrum and for Blade, I plan on doing this, is quick, little tiny YouTube snippets on how to do just real simple things. And I've already started working on these, and I'm going to have a series starting soon where it's going to be how to bind. If you have troubles binding, this is what you do. How to set up a servo, how to use sub-trim. What does this mean? What does that mean? Things like that. So if you guys have questions on that, or you want me to do a video on that, that's one of the things we're going to be doing while we're doing #RC from home. So go ahead and drop those in the line. And also, we're going to be answering questions during this live. So if you guys have any questions.
So Jay had asked, he wanted to know what's behind me. Jay, this is actually a custom case that I had a buddy of mine build. He actually does make them himself. His name is Jeff, and he runs a show himself. It's from Jeff's Custom RC.
Yeah.
I put a link up there in the live. This case is really cool. Again, we don't sell them at Horizon, but it does show off a lot of our cool stuff when I go to our
What do you have in that?
So I have 2 of the S2100 smart chargers.
Okay.
Those are the dual port AC chargers. I decided to go that route because currently we don't offer a DC version dual charger, and I wanted to have access to 4 ports over just 2. Jeff can do them as DC or AC, however you want to do it. He went full bore. I really didn't have much of an expectation for this case, guys, and he went really cool.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, he really went full bore on it.
Yeah.
I just sent him all the stuff and said, have at it, and this came back with it. So again, his YouTube account is listed here in the live. It's Jeff's Custom RC. He does make these cases, and he's happy to help out if you guys have questions. He can make singles, duals, all kinds of cool stuff. And again, I bought this case myself, and I reached out to him myself just because when I would go to events, I wanted to show off what the company has to offer, what Horizon has to offer. So it's a very cool case. And again, it's got the 2 dual chargers here. It says Spektrum right here, and it's got the Spektrum logo here. It's full smart, full capable. UMX turbo timber just right on top. It's awesome. But
I need to get myself one of those.
Pretty cool stuff.
If you're listening, I'm going to hit you up, bro. I probably have one of each of the smart chargers, so I have no need for chargers right now. But
right.
And yeah, if you guys have questions on smart chargers, hit me up. I did see a question here, so let's just go ahead and start answering some questions because we got people asking. Who is it? Jan Lowling. Let's share this one. Can I copy settings from one AR637T to another? Great question. At this time, no. But it is something that we're working on that we're going to have, just like you might be familiar with the 636, where you can transfer one settings to another. So hopefully that happens soon. So keep an eye out. Also, make sure you follow SpektrumRC's Facebook page and Instagram pages. I'm actually the guy that controls that, post updates for products there so you guys can know. So keep an eye on that.
Right.
All right. Any other custom or not? Oh, what did I say? Custom? Any other? Just custom board up there.
Yeah, I can pull that down. Dave actually mentioned, Jeff's Custom RC does run a live channel every Tuesday, guys, at 8:30 on his YouTube channel. I believe he's from North Carolina, so I believe he's on Eastern time. But he does run a channel, really cool, really exciting. He's got a lot of good stuff that he does from guys that are just modifying their models that they get from us and other companies. It's a really cool channel to check out.
That's awesome.
Question for Tom. It's a long one.
Oh, goodness. Robert Moore. All right. Oh, goodness. I think this is going to be a blanket statement. Things that Horizon and Spektrum are working on, keep your eye on the horizon. I can't really give you an idea of what we're working on, but you had some great ideas, and it's definitely things that we've thought about there, Robert. So good question. And, it is a serial-based protocol. So Spektrum Smart is a serial-based, which means you get all the data, all the communication over one wire between battery to ESC to receiver to radio. So really the sky's the limit. It just depends on what our engineers have the time to do. So currently I think we've got, a handful of engineers, maybe half a dozen that are working on smart continuously. So we got new stuff coming all the time. So there is some really exciting stuff coming soon. So
there is, guys. Definitely keep checking back because we got a lot of cool stuff, as Tom mentioned, coming down the pipe. Merv888. Hey guys, big hail from Barbados. Jonathan here. Is it possible to bind a Blade 70S to a DX6? Also, I'm just starting the hobby, and would you recommend the Sport Cub S2 or Turbo Timber as a first airplane? Tom, why don't you answer the Blade one?
The first part.
Yeah, you take the first part.
The 70S uses its own protocol, its own 2.4 radio protocol. So it will not bind to a DX6 or an IX20 like I have here. It only works with the transmitter that it comes with. The reason we did that is mostly for cost. It does cost a little bit more for us to produce and add Spektrum protocol into our products. So for a beginner model like that, that's usually how we go to keep the cost down.
Right.
But it's a great model. I love the 70S. It's probably the most durable helicopter out there.
Yeah, it is awesome. I like how the swash plate is actually all internal. So anytime you crash, really the only thing you can do is frame damage or blade damage, and even then, you don't do much damage when you crash that little helicopter. Very cool little helicopter to learn off of. With regards to your question for recommending your first airplane, I would probably lean more towards the Sport Cub S2 just because it's a little more forgiving. It's also a little smaller. It does have, the 3 steps of safe. It has beginner, intermediate, advanced, as well as panic. Now the Turbo Timber has safe select, which gives you basically a version of panic and then experienced mode. I think the Sport Cub S2 is going to be just the best bang for your dollar. As an RTF, it's relatively inexpensive. It comes with the transfer to the battery, the charger, the airplane, and you can fly it pretty much in your backyard as long as the winds are less than 5 miles per hour. If this is your first time flying, I would definitely start with that airplane. You'd find success there for sure.
I would agree with that. And it is Spektrum compatible.
Right. Yep, that is for sure. So if you ever
So
get
pick
into a
that up.
Spectrum transmitter at some point, say a DX6E, which I think is a phenomenal price and a phenomenal transmitter to get into as as a novice, you can get that transmitter. It'll bind up to 250 airplanes, and it's just got all the menus you would need to be successful in growing the hobby and growing in the hobby.
Totally. Well, I mean, what beyond those two, what would you think is another great micro, ultra micro beginner plane?
Micro, ultra micro. Well, I mean, I guess we have several different versions of models that could be, successful with.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Champ. While the Champ doesn't have safe, it's a 3-channel control, so it introduces you to pitch and yaw movement early. Because a lot of people who start off with ailerons can get the airplane upside down easily. Well, with safe, you can't do that. Now, the Champ doesn't have ailerons, so that airplane you also have the possibility of being successful because you only have rudder control on the back. Now, that airplane is even I think that airplane is also, it's cheaper. It's one of the cheaper models in Horizon's lineup, and a lot of people have started with the Champ as well.
Yeah.
That airplane has been around my entire career at Horizon, so I want to say the 9 years.
It's,
and the reason why it stays around is because people enjoy it. It sells. It's more of a scale little airplane, although it doesn't have ailerons, and it's just a really cool little model. So that one would also be a good one to get into.
Yeah, yeah. Another great thing to jump into to just if you're starting out at RC Air aircraft is to get a little quadcopter like an Inductrix.
Yep.
It's a great way for you just to get the muscle memory on the sticks, and they're fun and durable, and yeah, they're easy to repair if you have to. So that's another one I would recommend.
Yeah, and just to touch on that a little bit, quads also, like Tom mentioned, it really can teach you your orientation, whereas an airplane is always traveling in a forward motion. So you always have to be quick on the sticks to compensate for that, any obstacles you may fly into and whatnot. Whereas a quadcopter can literally just stay stationary in one spot. And you can play with orientation, whether the nose of the quadcopter is facing towards you or away from you. As it faces towards you, your control inputs are now opposite as it's coming towards you. Same thing for an airplane. But the nice thing is on a quadcopter, you can just stop in motion and it'll just sit there and hover. So as Tom mentioned, a wonderful way to kind of get your bearings, honing your skills a little bit to start off in the hobby for sure.
And talking about beginner stuff, and Gavin reminded me, I just put his comment up. First time plane over, would you all say that the Hobbyzone Duet is a good plane? And I would say it's a great plane to start out with. I actually gifted that to a couple of my brothers, and they love it, and they've never flown RC before. So yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, Gavin. Thanks for that comment.
I think that's another one of those models, Tom, that's been around since our entire career at Horizon.
I think it started about halfway through.
You think so?
It was one of the last ones that Kike had designed for Horizon before he left.
Well, it's been around for a long time, and again, there was a reason for it, guys. I think that airplane's around $69.99 retail, so it's very affordable. It's the transmitter, the battery, the charger, the airplane, everything in the box. It flies very well, again, with little wind, and people seem to, community seems to like it, so it stays around and it does relatively pretty well.
All right, I've got a question up here from Simon G, and it's kind of in my wheelhouse. Thanks, Simon. Considering moving to Smart, but how do I charge my existing 3S and 4S batteries with a smart charger? It can, just like any other charger that you have, you just put in the settings for the battery. Okay, so let's say it's a 2200. You set the charger to 2.2 amps. You tell it it's a 3-cell battery, and you tell it's a LiPo, and you hit start. With smart batteries, the advantage is you plug it in. It says, oh, I know what battery this is, and I know how many times it's charged. I know what the cells are like. I know what the condition of the battery is, and it charges it for you. You don't have to put those settings in. But if you do have a non-smart, or what I like to affectionately call a dumb battery, you can set the settings for yourself, just like you would with your everyday Dynamite, high-tech, iCharger, anything like that. But with Smart, you get that added functionality of just easier and safer charging. So
right. So ETE Fry wants to know if you could put a 6S in the Extra 300 3D. That airplane was designed specifically around 4-cell. So if you were going to run 6S in that airplane, not only would you have to make sure you have ample space in the fuselage to support it, you'd want to make sure your CG is correct, and you probably want to actually upgrade your ESC to make that feasible.
Essentially,
Personally, nobody no one that I know of has actually converted that airplane to 6S.
I've never seen it to 6S either.
Yeah, I've never seen it to 6S, and honestly, if you've got a lot of flight time on it, I think it's phenomenal on 4S. So I'm not sure why you'd need much more power.
Yeah,
but again, we're always for that custom.
I'm one of those guys. It's like, it's even my quote on my Facebook page. What's another 4.2 volts?
Right.
So I'll probably try.
Right.
I don't actually own one of those extra 300s. The roll rate is just nasty on those. It's so fast. So I'm like, yeah, I'll stick with my 3D phonies. But I do love my extras. So
right.
probably just upgrade the ESC, change the prop. You may even change the motor too. I would doubt the power system as it sits could handle it.
Yeah, the proper way would be to actually put an amp draw meter on it, run everything up, and see what kind of amps you're drawing on the stock ESC. And if you're close, or if you're significantly over, you'd want to upgrade the ESC and then do it all over again until you get it right. Also, you got to watch your weight because center of gravity is significantly important. Tail heavy airplane flies once. Nose heavy airplane will fly like crap, but it will fly. So just keep that. I mean,
if you are looking to do that, Mr. Fry, the Spektrum Smart 1800 milliamp 6S battery, I would bet would fit in there just fine. It's actually about the same size as a 2200 4-cell. So that's a great battery.
You would be sacrificing some flight time there because that airplane does support a 3000 or 4000 milliamp hour pack. So if you run an 1800 milliamp,
you'd probably get like 3 minutes out of it.
Yeah, you would be sacrificing flight time. Tom, I do see a question here for you specifically. I have a Nano S2 that I've been flying inside this winter. I want to get something bigger to fly outside this summer with a 230S V2 or the 150S. Which would you prefer?
That is a great question. So the 150S is my new favorite outdoor backyard helicopter. It has gobs of power. The 230S, it's great for people that are learning, but if you're looking for something that's a little bit more 3D capable, the 150S is the way to go. And it's a little cheaper. It uses a cheaper battery. So I probably point you towards that. But if you're still fairly beginner, you'll probably have just a great time with either one of them.
I want to chime in there just a little bit. One that I think doesn't get a whole lot of attention that I've had a lot of experience with lately is the Blade Fusion 180. Now, I know that wasn't necessarily in your list there. You were looking at the 150S or the 230S.
It doesn't have safe on it. That's the problem.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. But if you're coming from the Nano S2 and you can comfortably fly that model, do figure eights and orientation is not necessarily a concern for you. I think the Fusion 180 is an awesome helicopter. It's very stable. It's the smallest helicopter in its size that we carry that's belt driven. So that tail is just always locked in. And I'm just very impressed with its capabilities. So definitely don't overlook that one. A lot of people do, and that helicopter is phenomenal.
Yeah. That's like, I call it like a 700 size micro size because it just has so much power.
It flies very good.
We even have carbon fiber blades for it and things like that. That one, if you're really, really well seasoned with the Nano S2 and you can do almost anything with it, then maybe.
Yeah. And if you're going outdoors and you're still like Tom mentioned, if you're going outdoors with it, the 180 will do that. But if you're also still a little uncomfortable with how you fly as your skill, the 230S is a great one. It's a bigger helicopter. It's got the safe involved there, and it's locked in. Go check the reviews out for yourself, guys. That helicopter,
the 230S, it is a great helicopter. It even has those bright orange blades that helps with orientation and things like that. So maybe I'll retract my statement slightly. I just love the 150S. It flies so good.
The 150 is good too. All right, so Ted Blake, he wants to know, can I get my UMX turbo timber to do full span ailerons? And the answer to your question there is no. The flight controller on that model is different from that of a receiver. You can't program the channels on that to independently talk to each micro servo on that model. And the flaps on the UMX turbo timber are driven by, I believe it's one servo altogether. Yeah, it's one servo that drives the flaps. So they're not independent. So there would be no way to get full span ailerons on that model.
That's too bad. That turbo timber, that micro turbo timber you gave me, I actually went down that path to try to make it dual flaps so I could do full span flaps, and I couldn't get it to work. So I don't think it'll work.
Yeah, no, you'd have to try to get in there and do some things in the flight controller to make that a possibility.
Yeah. Boris has a question that maybe you could help with. Any tips for the Su30 and grass runways? CG setup?
So the CG in the manual is as accurate it's going to be, Boris. I can't hint it right off the top of my head, but it is pretty accurate. On honestly, with grass landings on this jet in particular is going to be difficult unless you're flying on like a golf cut grass, very very short. You're going to need a very long runway to actually get the model airborne. It's got the nose wheel guard on the front, and that also will catch debris as you're traveling through. So some of the guys that are actually flying off grass remove that, so it's not an obstacle. And doesn't create drag. So while some people have been successful in flying off grass, it really just depends on your specific runway. If you're flying on anything more than like a golf green type of grass, you might not have success flying that model in that environment.
Okay. Well, that's too bad. I mean, really, it depends on the grass in my experience. Most EDF planes or jet planes have a hard time. Yes, we try to make them so that they can take off the grass pretty well, but sorry, if you don't have a runway, it might be a little bit more hard.
Right. Especially the bigger they get, the more scale they get when you have all those little bits of trinkets on there that make the look and present nicely. Sometimes that really, takes away from being able to fly on some grass runways.
Right.
ET Fry, again, here we go. We have what is the highest mile per hour wind speed I can fly that extra 300 3D in? Honestly, that comes down with your skill as a pilot, man. I actually own that airplane, and I would feel comfortable flying that airplane and probably anything between 10 and 15 miles per hour, no problem, just because it has the power to do so even on 4-cell. I can't imagine what it would have on 6S, but even on 4S, it handles relatively well. And again, that airplane is really good at high alphaing, so you can sit there and literally just hover the airplane like this, even with the wind presenting itself at 10 to 15 miles per hour.
It is more of that's your skill level. I've flown 3D planes in 20-mile-per-hour winds, comfortably. You just have to compensate for it.
Right. So as long as it depends on your skill level. If you feel confident enough in your ability to fly that airplane, inverted, do some waterfalls with it and things like that, and not have any concern about your flying skill, then you could probably equally fly in those kinds of winds. It really just depends on how good of a pilot you are.
Good question, though.
It is a good question.
How about Gabriel's question? I have a few UMX airplanes. That's the minimum area or what's the minimum area you recommend for a beginner? Is that what he's trying to say, I think?
Maybe? Yeah, I believe that's what he's getting at. We always recommend I don't want to use the word a park environment, but like a soccer field. If you can go to an area where you have like a 1 or 2 soccer fields worth of space, that's what we recommend. And also with the UMX airplanes, if you're a complete novice, we recommend don't going out flying unless it's under 5-mile-per-hour winds. If it's over 5-mile-per-hour winds, while you're in beginner mode, you have reduced throw and you get banking limitations. And sometimes that with winds greater than 5 miles per hour, you don't have enough corrective response in your throws to overcompensate that wind. So be under 5-mile-per-hour winds when you go out to fly for your first time, and make sure you're flying at a 1 or 2 soccer fields worth of space.
And one of the things, at least here in Illinois, where it's fairly tree ridden, you always got these trees. There's always a tree line. It may feel like 5 mile an hour to you on the ground, but once you get about that tree line, it may be 15, 20. So especially with a UMX plane, a microplane, you got to be real careful with that, or else it's going to take for a ride.
Right. Matthew Nichols wants to know what is the fastest E-flite EDF? I would probably have to say the Havoc. I think the Havoc Sport Jet is probably going to be our fastest model in our lineup right now. That thing is just wicked fast. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, and you definitely want to have some skill under your belt before you take on something like that. Has extreme roll rate. Definitely check out our launch video on Horizon Hobby. You can check it out on Horizon Hobby directly, or go to YouTube, and you'll see that thing just has some amazing roll rate. It's very fast. You can see speeds of like 140 plus mile per hour in straight level flight. It's pretty cool.
Dave had to make me laugh. I love this comment. Don't all have tree magnets? Yes, they do.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Let's see.
Skip, hey Cody, wear my hat. Hey man, we have a lot of hats that go out, and I'm working. Let me work on it.
What hat does he need?
He was wanting a smart hat or a Spektrum hat.
I think we're out of stock on the Spektrum hats right now.
I thought that's what it was when I looked a few days ago. That's kind of what we send a lot of hats out, Skip. So it's definitely nothing against you, man, but we just send a lot of them out, and we usually run out of them pretty quick.
I saw a question here, but I lost it. Have you and Tom heard about RC boats? Yes, we have, PB. I have one right here. No, sorry, I don't mean to poke fun, but I have been into RC boats for a really long time, almost as much time as I've been into RC. So I love boats.
Question for you, Tom. How many GoPros have you lost in a lake because of RC boats?
2. I have lost 2. That's true.
I only ask that, guys, because I've been there each time he's lost them.
I have stopped putting GoPros on boats since then.
Yeah, he is the number one GoPro.
I spent like 2 hours searching a lake for a GoPro, and then a guy that he like found my GoPro because he like dredges the bottom of lakes as a hobby, and he contacted me because he saw my face on my GoPro's SD card, and he searched, like, I don't know how he found me, but he like messaged me on Facebook. He's like, "Hey, is this your GoPro?" I was like, "Yeah, I lost it like 2 years ago."
Didn't he look at your footage? He looked at the footage because the SD card.
Yeah, he did. He was like, "Oh, this is really cool," because I had drone footage on it as too. It's like, "Oh, you can do drone stuff." So I was like,
I love that. I love like when you can you consider something a goner and then it's returned to you. It's just like, oh man,
yeah,
yes.
nice good Samaritan. Unfortunately, the GoPro did not work anymore.
All right, so we do have another question here. I have a question for you. Are remote control aircrafts easy to use or hard? Because I had one before. I'm assuming you're saying you haven't had one before. So 10 years ago, I would say that, yes, remote control airplanes were hard to get into because we didn't have things like safe technology like we do today. So in today's time, if you were interested in getting into RC as a hobby, as something that you're passionate about, again, starting off with like the UMX Sport Cub S2, which is one of our recently announced models again, would be the best thing to invest in. It's relatively affordable. You get the transmitter, the battery, the plane, all of it in one box, including the charger for a relatively good price. And it's going to teach you how to fly. You have beginner mode, intermediate mode, advanced mode, and a panic mode, all at the hands of switches right on the top of the transmitter. And you can start in beginner mode, and the aircraft literally will not let you flip it upside down. So while you're in beginner mode and you give left or right inputs, not expecting or not knowing what's going to happen, the aircraft stops you at certain angles. So you can't accidentally get, right side up or upside down and cause you to crash. And I think that's one of the biggest thing that turned people off years ago is that they'd get into an airplane for the first time that didn't have safe, and they would take off and accidentally give the wrong input and put the aircraft right into the ground and destroy it. That kills your confidence, doesn't make you want to go out and spend more money in the hobby, and it really just turns you off from the hobby in general. Well, in today's stuff and today's innovation with safe and the things that Horizon's doing, we're making aircraft that pretty much almost, I want to say they fly themselves, and we do have models that do fly themselves now. We're coming up with more and more ways to make you as a novice pilot successful into the hobby as a first-time user. So definitely check out the UMX Sport Cub S2. Awesome product to get started with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Safe has really revolutionized the RC hobby and made it accessible for beginners and all alike.
Right.
Here's a good question.
Go ahead, Tom.
Prithvi, any updates expected for the IX-12 with graphic telemetry similar to the IX-20? So what he's talking about here, and this gives me an opportunity to show this off again.
Oh, yeah. This is awesome.
Go to IX-20, go here. So, I got to set it up. So I got to go to telemetry. So on the IX-20, you can go to telemetry, and you can do these gauge panel setups. This is really cool. So I'll go to this gauge panel. I'll add one. And you can do these gauges. So you can do like voltage and things like that. And it'll fill up, and it'll do a kind of a graphical gauge. And you can do different colors for here. All that. You can name it your own gauge. I wonder if I can even type. I can type. This is so cool.
So Tom, while you're setting this up, the question was, can he do this with the IX-12? So is he able to do this?
I know. I'm just showing off. Unfortunately, at this time, no. So it's only available.
I didn't want you to get so far into it, and then the answer to be no. So maybe at some point in the future that might be a possibility, being that the IX-12 does run off Android firmware, but at this time, no.
The main thing, at least from my understanding, is that you aren't able to, or we're not able to really use the space on the IX-12 screen for that purpose because it's a little tighter than the IX-20 screen. And there's a little bit more processing power on the IX-20 screens, things like that. So hopefully one day, but unfortunately, the answer is no.
Right. So I did see quite a few questions go by. It looks like Robert had a question. He had the Viper 70 EDF, fairly new model pilot, although I was an actual pilot. Do you have any advice flying while landing this jet in grass? You crashed it the last time you flew. Honestly, I don't know what your skill level is, your background is in this hobby. I would say it's significantly different than full scale. That's for sure. It's a different perspective for sure. But depending on your skill level, I think the Viper is one of the best airplanes that we have that's grass capable, or best EDFs that we have that's grass capable. I have that airplane personally, and I think just the ground clearance alone, even if you're not flying off golf level grass, it just handles it very well. While it may take a little bit to get you going, it is a tricycle landing gear, so when you land, you don't usually have any flip overs or cartwheeling, so to speak, as long as you're coming in, flaring well, landing on the mains. So
just slow it down as much as possible in the air as you can.
Another thing that you can try, just to switch gears a little bit, if you're having difficulty flying that airplane in grass, you could also try investing in RealFlight. RealFlight will help you hone in your skills to be able to land right on those mains each and every time. So, like I said, RealFlight is not just a tool for beginners or novices. I use it. I'm sure Tom uses it. It's a cheap way for us to crash and crash and crash and crash.
I'm using it to learn helicopter maneuvers, so it's a great tool for that too.
Yeah, it's a cheap way to learn to be able to do like inverted flying. I actually learned how to do 3D with helicopters based off RealFlight.
I learned how to fly 3D planes with Phoenix RC before we went to RealFlight.
So those are just things that I would suggest if you're having difficulty with your actual model.
I like this comment from our friend Dave again. Also for beginners, check out the Horizon Hobby Flight Coach program. Absolutely. If you guys, even safe's great, but having somebody there to walk you through it, to be a mentor, to be a teacher, is a great tool for you to have. And Horizon Hobby has a flight coach program. What that means is that we've got people all around the country teaching you how to fly RC aircraft. And it's on our website. You can check it out. And it'll get you connected with someone in the flight school program. So definitely check that out if you guys are beginners. You might be surprised who's near you and who can help. Like Dave. Dave, the Air Marshal RC, is one of our flight instructors. He does a great job.
Yep. So again, just to comment a little further on that, guys, if you go to horizonhobby.com, go to the very bottom of the page, you can actually find an instructor in your area. You put in your zip code, and it'll pull up a bunch of emails and gentlemen who have actually signed up to be a part of our program who would be more than willing to help you out. These aren't guys that are, when you send them an email, they're like, who are you? Why are you messaging me? These are guys who are avid and very passionate about this industry, very passionate about aviation in general, and they're more than willing to help out. So again, from a novice's perspective, if you're scared to invest in an airplane, you have Safe on your side with most of our aircraft, and you also have coaches in your area that'll be more than willing to help you out as well. So it's the best time to get into the hobby. So if you're watching and you've had a bad experience in the past, 5-6 years ago when this technology wasn't available and when these coaches weren't available, it's come a long way. Things have changed, and it's never been a better time than now to get back into it.
Yeah, it is. Here's a great question from our friend Fry again. What's your favorite plane so far? You go first, Cody. What's your favorite plane? Now, do we want to keep it to Horizon planes, or can we talk about other manufacturers?
Well, we can do both. I'll be honest with you. I have a lot of experience in Horizon aircraft. I haven't stepped really outside of Horizon, not necessarily because I don't. It's easier for me to work with Horizon product, and having worked in product support, all I needed to know was Horizon product because that's what I was getting phone calls on. So that's what I was mainly interested in.
Let's break it up to this. Your favorite Horizon everyday plane as number one. Your favorite Horizon you got to have fun plane. And then your favorite, let's just say non-Horizon plane. What's somebody that you think we could endorse here on the Horizon channel that you could, that we can kind of cross-promote? And great people in the hobby. What do you think?
Sure. So let me start with, I think my favorite go-to, I want to relax at the field kind of airplane is probably going to be the Aero Scout. It's a relatively new airplane, but I just enjoy the heck out of that little airplane. It flies very well. It's very fast. It's very agile, and it'll putt around the field if you want it to. And just to twist gears a little bit, another airplane in that same category would be our old school Alpha 40 from Hangar 9. That was one of the RTS. That was when we had an RTS.
That is old school.
With a nitro motor on it. I have one of the original Alpha 40s that had Spektrum on it, the Spektrum colors from Hangar 9. It's when you got a DX6i with it in the package, the nitro motor, and I still have the original motor on it, and it'll turn at the flip of the prop on the first try with the original glow plug. And I fly that airplane any chance I get. It's a wonderful airplane for me to get into. I enjoy having that quite a bit.
Yep.
Now my hot airplane that doesn't see as much time as I would like it to do, as I would like to, is probably going to be the E-flite Beast
60. I knew you were going to say that.
I would probably say the Beast 60E. I've probably got maybe a dozen or 2 dozen flights on that airplane.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's in that size where I don't want to take the wings off. It is too. It's a biplane.
I haven't taken the wings off mine since I bought it.
It's a biplane, but the size of it is it's big. It holds a big presence in the air, and I have difficulty trailering it back out to the field or not, so it doesn't run as often as I want it to. And to take the wings off is just such a pain in the butt because where the screws are at. So
I can throw it in the back of my van, and it's fine. It doesn't. I don't.
Well, you have a van. I have a big truck, and I don't have a topper for my truck, so it's got to go. So it has to fit in there perfectly, and sometimes it's damaged when
you can't have any other extra planes with it.
Right. Yeah. So the B-60 is probably one of my favorite airplanes to fly.
It's a very awesome plane.
It flies fast. It'll do anything aggressive you want it to do, and it
humbles like nothing else. Man, I love that plane.
Tom and me used to go out to our little flying spot and do some formation flying with them. It was pretty cool. We had a lot of fun with those airplanes. Outside of the industry, I do have a couple Freewing airplanes. I have nothing bad to say about Freewing. I think they have some really interesting and unique jets. I like seeing the uniqueness that comes from them. So, we do some of that as well. I would love to get my hands on like one of their bombers, one of their twin, or one of their twin bombers. Those are pretty cool too. Lots of cool stuff. I'm more of like
I don't pay much attention to them, to that brand. I
mean, like I said, a lot of people here. I'm not, prejudiced to one or the other. I think everybody who gets in this community has a passion for aviation. Whether they buy from Horizon or whether they buy from Motion. The goal is to get a good quality product that you can have a lot of fun with, and that's going to keep you, in the hobby and keep you progressing. So whether you're buying from us or buying from Motion, like I said, we appreciate it and they appreciate it, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming from all the companies. So
totally. Well, so my everyday favorite plane, I would have to say from Horizon, is a turbo timber, the larger turbo timber. That I could fly that thing all day. I love that. Close second would be the Night Radian. The Night Radian's so much fun. And then a fun plane that unfortunately we don't make anymore, just kind of along the same line as the B-60, is the Inversa 33. I've actually owned 2 of those planes. It's such a great plane.
We don't need to talk about
flies so good. Yeah, right. The receiver battery came unplugged in flight, and it went, and that was a good day.
What do you mean? The receiver battery came unplugged? It didn't land itself? What are you talking about?
No, gas planes don't do that. And then outside Horizon, I'd like to give a shout out to Twisted Hobbies. Crack Yaks are the greatest plane to learn how to 3D on. Really any flat foaming, and that's why I have a JTA flat foaming behind me, the Game Bird. They're just great to learn on. They just bounce off everything. So and it's super easy if you guys are looking to, find what electronics to build to put into it. We have Spektrum motors, or not Spektrum motors, rimfire motors, Spektrum servos, and the Spektrum receivers, the AR410, are great for those types of models. So if you guys are building a flat foamy like a Crack Yak or a JTA Game Bird or Extra, I definitely would recommend getting like Spektrum Smart Avian ESC and the AR410. That way you can get battery telemetry to your transmitter for your plane, so you're not over discharging your packs, because that's one of my problems with these fun planes. You just keep flying them, and then you're like, oh crap, I over discharged and ruined this battery. So getting smart really helps against that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Just real quickly, that was my rundown of what's my favorite plane so far.
So Robert had a question here. Can you tell me why we aren't bringing Park Zone back? So to answer that question is we're kind of rolling. Park Zone is going away. We're rolling a lot of the models that would have otherwise come out under Park Zone into the E-flite category. And the reason why is because we have Hobbyzone and we have E-flite. Hobbyzone is going to be the brand that is kind of like the beginner or novice friendly brand. While there might be some things there that may be a little more aggressive, but it's mainly just a beginner or a novice brand. And then you have E-flite, which is things like the Havoc or the EC1500, where you're getting the faster, more aggressive type models for the skill level 2 or the pilots who have flown before. So we didn't really have a need for a third brand. And another thing, parks are now are areas in some states you can't actually fly at anymore. So the term park is inciting that people can go to their park and fly, and some parks you can't fly there anymore. So it's just a term that we kind of wanted to get away from. And again, we still work with our vendors that made ParkZone, and they're just coming out under the E-flite name. Same quality, same good stuff, and that you would expect from those brands.
Yeah, so you're not losing ParkZone. It's going to be conglomerated into another brand.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's one of the things about Horizon Hobby is we have many brands underneath the Horizon Hobby umbrella. So you got ParkZone, E-flite, Hangar 9, Spektrum. You've got Arma, Losi, Axial, RealFlight, so many other brands. And sometimes you just got to condense things a little bit so that the messaging is correct.
Right. Skip had a good question. Skip, he bought an F4 Phantom, 80 millimeter version, and he had a faulty fan. Skip, if it was out of the box defective, we have an amazing product support team. I know I've worked in there, so has Tom. Simply just give us a call, let us know where you bought it from, provide a receipt, show us that it's not been crashed, things like that. I'm sure we'd be able to help you out.
And that actually goes back to a question we had earlier that we skipped over. I saw it though. Someone was asking, are our phone lines still open? And yes, they are. Our phone lines are still open, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic here, and like me and Cody, we're both working from home. So is our whole product support staff. So they are, and also, it's insane. There's so many people calling in. Well, maybe it's not insane, but maybe it's just how it is. But our call volumes are a lot higher up right now. Our email volumes are a lot higher up right now. So if you guys, I just want to ask, try to be patient. Yeah, the wait time is hour plus, but you will talk to somebody. You can even put in your phone number to get a call back, and someone will help you out.
I believe, though, Tom, just to chime in a little bit on that. So I believe, if I'm correct on this, we actually did turn the callback feature off because it was getting very out of hand.
Oh, really?
We had a long wait time. So right now, when you call on, I believe you can either stay on hold or just hang up and email us.
I didn't know that.
But again, we are, with everybody being home, everybody is out using their stuff, so we do have a higher call volume, and our entire team is working from home. So definitely, it's a whole different environment for that team. They don't have access to, so we usually have a big room where we can literally get it from our desk, go grab this product.
We have like 2 of everything. Yeah.
Right. We look it over, come back to the phone call and say, hey, this is exactly what you need to do. Well, now a lot of these guys don't have access to that product directly right now. So things are slower. So we appreciate if as Tom mentioned, patience right now is definitely key. And we'll do our best to help you guys. And we'll do our best to help you guys. And again, emailing support also works. Again, keep in mind there's about probably a 3 to 5 day delay before you get a turnaround. But we are thinking about you guys. We are here. Nothing's changed in that regard, and support is still 100%. So.
And other ways to get support would be you can actually message us on Facebook. You can message the Horizon Hobby Facebook page. You can message the Spektrum Facebook page, or the E-flite Facebook page, or the Blade Facebook page. I personally do the Blade and the Spektrum Facebook pages. So if you guys message that, I usually check them the next day, and I answer in the morning. So I spend a good portion of my morning answering.
Right. So I do the E-flite and RealFlight page personally myself, guys. So if you guys have questions pertaining to product, we can help you. If you have warranty-related questions, those would be directed to product support. So we would forward you those to product support specifically.
Yeah. But at least it's a good way to get the process started if you're having a hard time getting a hold of stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But good question, and it's good that we cover that because everybody's got questions, unfortunately.
Right.
I know I do.
Shannon said, love UMX planes. Do you like the Pitts? We got a couple different Pitts, Shannon.
Oh, man.
We got the UMX Pitts. We got the Pitts 850, and then we have the new FMS Pitts V2. So I don't know about Tom, but I'm a huge biplane fan.
Me too.
Love biplanes.
Yeah.
That's why I picked the B60E when you guys asked. So I actually have owned the UMX Pitts, and I do have this box actually right behind me is the FMS V2 Pitts. You haven't
built that yet?
I haven't even built it yet. But no, they're all great. The UMX pits I think is one of the coolest little scale UMXs we carry. So if you don't have one, definitely check that out. Of course, I'm not going to say if an airplane's bad, but that airplane's definitely not bad. Get into that airplane; it's super awesome.
Yeah, the UMX pits was probably one of my favorite UMX planes.
For
I love
sure.
that plane. I've still got one. Here's one. I think Eric's actually asked this question twice. Just checking. I want to use my IX-20 with a Seaplane. Can I dip my 637T and Smart Avian 60 in Corrosion X, let it dry, and make them waterproof? Yes, I would say you can. You might. I'm probably going to tell you it may void the warranty. But if you're somebody that's a good DIYist like me, I Corrosion X almost everything. You'll probably be fine. I've Corrosion X the 637T myself because I put one in the Seaplane and it does fine. So, but I would be cautious to do that to everything because you might void the warranty on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Dan had a great question. So mixing safe on a Viper with a DX6 Generation 3, does it have to be tied to flaps or can you mix it to another channel like landing gear? So great question. So the Viper, just for everybody who doesn't know, that is a 6-channel airplane without safe. So you have throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder, gear, and flaps. So that's 6 channels. Safe requires its own independent channel in order to be able to operate independently. So his question is he wants to tie safe, or he's asking, can he tie safe to either the retract switch or his flap switch? And the answer is yes. Now, it really depends on how the aircraft is set up. In some scenarios, you could run into a situation where when your retracts are down, safe is on, or when your retracts are down, safe is off. It all depends on the airplane. So, Dan, when you go to set that up, if you decide to tie it into your retract switch, and let's say that safe is on when the retracts are down, there's no way to get it to the opposite. There's no way to make it to where when your retracts are up, now safe is on. So it's only one way. That's the only possible way it can be. So if it works in your favor that way, then by all means do it. If it doesn't, there's other ways that you can do it. You can tie it to the flaps, but the same logic applies. It could be full flaps down, safe on, or full flaps down, safe off. And whichever it is, that's what you end up with. You can't change it. So if you run into a scenario that you don't like, whether it be the retracts or the flaps, you can always unplug, say, the flaps. The Viper doesn't necessarily have to have flaps to land. It's an added feature. It helps, sure, but you can unplug the flaps and make them stationary and use that extra channel for safe if you need that more than flaps. The Viper, again, I've flown it many times. While flaps do help land, that airplane does not require flaps to land.
Let's see, there was one up here, a boat question. Would a 6S work in the old recoil red boat? No, I do not think so. That one, if I remember properly, it was even a brushed motor.
I'm pretty sure a 6S...
You'd probably blow it right up.
I'm pretty sure that a 6S battery, a 6S 5000 battery, is the size of that boat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a pretty big battery. No, good question. Good question, guys. Good question.
And are we still going to have RC Fest at Eli Field? Absolutely. Yeah, that's where RC Fest is it's home to Eli Field. So the next RC Fest and likely every RC Fest after that will be at Eli Field.
So I think his question is RC Fest still going on because of COVID-19? I think that's what his question is. So we haven't made an announcement yet, guys. So for the guys who are interested in coming to RC Fest, we will have an announcement soon. Right now in Illinois, our governor has extended the stay-at-home order until the end of May. And as you know, RC Fest is right there at the beginning, the middle of June. So
it's the second weekend of June.
Yeah, so it's really tight in that regard. So again, it's up in the air. When we know, you guys will know. To stay tuned and follow our social media sites, and we'll make an announcement there for sure.
All right. Well, here's a good question from Paul D. On a maiden, can you trim while in Safe Select? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Yep. So, and that's a great thing about Safe and Safe Select is that it'll help you get a plane up safely, so it's easier to fly and you can kind of focus on trimming. One thing about trimming with an AR636 or an AR637T is that you have to trim, get the plane to where you feel like it's flying level, and then let go of the sticks for a total of 3 seconds. And what happens is that the receiver says, oh, okay, that's my new center position, and it saves that as the new center. That way, priority and gains work properly. So you trim. Okay, yeah, your elevator's flying level. Wait 3 seconds. Don't move the sticks, and then it saves that new center position.
Right. Very cool stuff there. And also make sure you trim your airplanes on the ground before you go in the air anyway, guys. We like to do what's called a pre-flight check. Make sure all of your surfaces are centered while not in safe. And also make sure you do a range check, things like that. Just do your due diligence before putting the airplane in the air. It just limits the possibilities of having an incident.
Good.
Let's see. Ernesto had a good question. Is it safer to land in safe mode? Honestly, if you're a novice, absolutely. Again, so while you're in safe mode, you have banking limitations as well as pitch limitations. So pitch limitations is your elevator. That's what causes the aircraft to go up and down or increase and decrease in altitude. When you're in safe mode, if you were to if you're on approach and you're coming in for a landing while in safe mode, if you were to back the throttle off completely, well, without safe, the aircraft would eventually just nose down and crash. With safe, your elevator is going to compensate to keep the aircraft from stalling. So it's going to help you flare. It's going to help you approach. It's just all around going to be a better experience than not having safe. So absolutely. I think if you're a novice and you're definitely looking to practice your landings, do so in safe. It'll take you a long way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's see. This is great. This is fun. I think we should do more Q&A sessions like this. It probably helps product support, really.
Yeah. So Charlie had a good question here. So if it's on with flaps up, just reverse the values in the flap system. It doesn't actually work that way. So if it's -100 and flap up or +100 flap down, the safe only sees the value that it needs to see. It doesn't care about what position the flaps are doing. So it'll always be the same on that percentage. Reversing it or reversing the values in flap system doesn't work that way. Yeah. You'd have to end up taking the servo out of the fuselage or out of the wing, reversing it that way. You'd have to manually make the reverse in the wing, not in the flap system, because the receiver sees it differently than what the flaps are actually doing.
Okay. So one option would be to get like a servo reverser. And some people use that. Not really recommended because it can kind of. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Not with safe. So again, if you're in a limitation where you have a DX6 transmitter and you have a 6-channel transmitter outside of using the safe feature, you're going to have to couple it to the retracts or the flaps one way or the other, and what you see is what you get. There's no way else around that. The only thing you can do is upgrade to a 7 or greater channel transmitter, which I think the 8 honestly is really the perfect happy medium channel. I think Tom might agree. The DX80 is kind of like the do-all for most of our models right now. You can have flaps and retract capabilities. If you have a model that has the ability to turn the lights on and off, things like that, you have that extra channel to play around with.
If you need a radio that is economical, but you need to have 8 channels so you can fly all of our safe aircraft, that's the one to go with, the DX80.
Right.
But they're $200 for the transmitter.
I also see Jeff's Custom RC just joined. So guys, as you can see, we had a lot of questions on the case earlier. The gentleman that's in the chat that's titled Jeff's Custom RC, he actually built this case, did an amazing job. Him and his wife, Tara, do a phenomenal job on a lot of stuff, not just on making cases. They also tag team, painting airplanes and doing other cool projects. So if you guys are interested in getting a smart charger, Jeff can do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one. This one's all kind of outfitted as a marketing case, but you can get one as a single case. You can get a dual case. You can get an AC case, a DC case. You can do all kinds of different cases, and Jeff's fully willing to work with you. So his email is in his YouTube channel. He also goes live on Tuesdays. I believe it's at 8 p.m. Central for me. And he just hangs out with you guys, shows some of the projects he's working on. He has a buddy that's Raven Rock Aviation, Dustin, that's a machinist. He also goes live with him as well. And they just kind of interact with the community and talk about the latest and greatest stuff. So there's a lot of guys that go live throughout the week that are really avid in this community. And we like to push a little bit of our community to them because they do a really good job. And Jeff is just one of those guys. I mean, this case, as you guys can see, Tom was checking it out earlier. This case is really cool. I mean, he's got lights all through it. It's got the 2 S2100 chargers, the Spektrum logo. I sent him all the files so he can make accurate Spektrum logos. It's just really cool stuff. Again, so if you're interested in getting a case like this, Jeff will make them. He can put your name in there and do all kinds of cool stuff. He can put Tom Cogswell right on the top if Tom wanted to get one. So I know Tom was
I'm gonna
interested
make
in
him just
one as
make
well.
my bomb logo instead of, or maybe like smart and bomb next to it.
So really cool, and it's full smart capable, guys. So I mean, when I go out to events and people ask me about smart, I have the ability to tell them about it. I mean, they can see the logo from afar, and all of our smart batteries work and interact with it, and it's very user friendly. Even if you open the case and you get inside of it, he's made it to where you can easily remove things and swap things out as necessary, so you're not foolproof. It's very, very easy to replace things should something fail in the future. So again, Jeff, great job on that. We're kind of giving some shout outs to the community today. Great work on the case, man. Again, you and your wife are awesome, and I appreciate you guys.
Here's a question about RC Fest from our friend David Graff. Do we just put a tent up and sleep for those days, or are there comfortable hotels near the area near Eli Field? There is actually a motel just down the street from Eli Field. I believe there might be one or two more in Monticello, which is the town that it's located. So Monticello, Illinois. We're also going to have camping on site as well. So you can bring a camper. So it's primitive camping. So camper and generator or tent or whatever you guys want to bring.
Right. Yeah, literally, Tom's not lying when he says there's a hotel literally down the street. You can actually see our field from the hotel on the highest floor. So it's pretty cool.
And we're super accommodating. We have tents and like areas where you can keep your model. So let's say you just want to walk back to the motel. We're happy to let you keep your model sitting in our hangar or something like that. Nobody's going to mess with that.
Here's Jeff's comment, guys. We can hook you up. Jeff is willing to work with people. If you guys need something made, charge case, whatever it is, Jeff will hook you guys up.
All right.
Oh, Jeff, I guess you cut hair as well, dude. In Illinois, I don't know how it's going for you, Tom.
Me too, man.
Dude, I've had to like trim the front. If I turn around right now, I'm getting a mullet, man. But I trim the front for our live videos, and I just try not to turn my head too much so people don't see the back of my head. My wife, funny story real quick just to get off topic, but my wife was like, we need to cut your hair. And she sits me down in the kitchen, and she grabs our clippers, and she does the back of my head. And she's like, you know what? I made a mistake. I can't do this. So like, half my head was shaved. I was like, come back.
Nobody's going to see it.
I'm like, man, I need to come cut my hair. This is getting
it's okay. I'm used to having long hair, so I'll be okay.
It's rough. It's rough. Mine grows into like a perfect bowl, and I haven't had a bowl cut since like middle school, and I won't go back. I won't go back.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's rough. I do miss sport clips. I love sport clips. That's my jam.
ETE. I don't know this one, Tom. I don't know if you do. Sonic Wave 36-inch, able to run 4S battery. Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, what you'll need to do there, we do have
the specs.
Check out the specs. We do include that on Horizon Hobby in the specs. That one, I'm not 100% sure it can. I believe that boat is a 3S only boat, but definitely check it out with the specs, and you'll find your answer there.
Again, if you're messing around with power systems, just make sure you're not overheating the motor. A good tool to have is a heat gun. One of those laser temp guns, just to make sure your AC is not getting over 160 amps or 160 degrees rather. And same with the motor. That's kind of the meltdown temp, at least in my rule of thumb. That's where I like to stop at.
So TNRC had a question earlier, and he said, in the Cirrus SR22, is there a reason the ESC isn't secured? So in some of our aircraft, the ESC floats around just behind the firewall on the fuselage in a relatively small compartment. It's really okay for it to be free floating. It's not, there's nothing like a loose solder joint that, from it free floating would cause it to fail in any way. At least I've never had an experience where an ESC that's free floating in the fuselage has caused an issue. Of course, it'd be nice to have them secured, but a lot of times those compartments are only roughly about maybe in between 3 and 6 inches. So the amount of room that it can actually wiggle around there isn't much. And also, as air passes through there, you want to have that open spot so more air can rush in to keep it cool as you're flying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's going to cause an issue.
No. We can't really answer this one, but I'll show it.
All right.
What's the best transmitter or a radio you think Horizon sells? Tom, I'm gonna have to say the DX9 just because it's been around longest. It's been around longest. I think in the sheer amount of transmitters that we've sold via DX9, that's probably
okay. So if we were to talk about like top selling transmitter, it would be the DX9, the DX6i, or the original DX8.
We did sell a lot of DX6Is.
So many
We sold a lot
6Is.
of DX6Is. Yes, we did.
And if you guys are still using DX6Is, you need to get a new transmitter.
No. We appreciate that you have had this much time with that transmitter, but it's like having a cassette player in your car. I don't know about you guys, but I can't do that. I can't even buy cassettes anymore at the store. Definitely upgrade your transmitter. These airplanes that are coming out these days are going to be better supported by the newer transmitters.
Yeah. So 6i, I mean, and same with the DX8. A lot of the older transmitters, they don't support a lot of the new technology that we're coming out with, like forward programming with the AR637T. Forward programming, that means that you can take all the settings in your transmitter, and then your receiver says, "Oh, that's your travel, that's your sub trim, that's how you have it all set up," and it recognizes that and it sets it all up for you. There's no hooking up an app to it and telling it what type of wing type you have and things like that. With the 6i or older transmitter, that's not an option. So if you're looking to upgrade to smart technology and our newer gyro stabilized receivers like the 637T, you really need to start looking into a transmitter like the DX8E. If you guys need a cost-effective, economical transmitter that is supporting all the newer technology, I would look at one of the E models like the 6E or the 8E.
Right. And I would, again, if you're using SAFE and you're actively using SAFE, I would go with the 80 just because you have that additional channel outside of flaps and recharge that you can assign that switch to and not have to couple it to one of those channels. Charlie had a good question. Can you put the A10 motor in the 64 millimeter F15 and 16? It uses the same housing, so I don't see why you couldn't. The only difference is it's a higher KV motor. So again, you might put some additional strain on the ESC. Anytime you guys modify stuff, you got to understand that Horizon hasn't tested it or tried it. So there's no way we can tell you with 100% certainty that it would work. Is it possible? Of course. I mean, there's people in here that do kinds of custom stuff all the time. As like I mentioned, Jeff's Custom RC does a lot of that kind of thing. In that situation, if you were going to do it, you'd want to make sure that you had an amp draw meter and make sure the ESC wasn't, topping out essentially. And you want to make sure your motor is not getting too hot so you don't burn things up. Things like that. ETE, why does my 800 millimeter Corsair nosedive to the right when I hand launch it? The 800 millimeter Corsair is a little heavy. You might be running into a scenario where the wing is stalling. You're saying it's diving to the right when you hand launch it. My guess is that right wing is
stalling on takeoff.
Yeah. That airplane, you can hand launch it. I don't know what your skill level is.
Is that an FMS plane?
It is, yeah. That airplane, you probably want to start with doing ground takeoffs using the actual gear before you start with hand launching, just so you can kind of familiarize yourself with how it handles the flight characteristics. But in most cases, you want to be launching at full power and not straight up. You want to kind of like you're tossing a baseball or a football or something, not straight up. So, but usually at full power in those scenarios.
Yeah, I normally run about 3/4 throttle and toss at about a 45, 30-degree angle up. And then, if you can do it, quickly grab your transmitter, be ready to correct for that roll because there's going to be some torque. Right when it leaves your hand, it's going to want to torque a little bit. That's just natural. So you got to be ready to counteract that torque and then throttle out of it. That's hand launching it's almost a finesse. There's almost an art to it. So yeah, it takes some practice.
Right. Absolutely.
We got Ricardo. Here's one. I've been trying to get to somebody from Horizon Hobby all this day to ask for help programming my new A10 for my IX-12 to use SAFE, but nobody has answered my calls. So here's a good way for me to show off my transmitter with the screen grab here, and I'll show you what you need to do if you want to assign SAFE on an IX-12 or an IX-20 like we have here.
So real quick, Tom, I want to answer that as well. So we just uploaded, towards the end of today, maybe Monday, we do have an A10 Spektrum file, an SPM file.
There is. That's a good question, or a good point, yeah.
So we do have an SPM file that you can download. Essentially, all you'd have to do is just use a switch that you'd want to use and hold your sticks down and toggle the switch that you want to use at that point. There is an SPM file available. Another things to mention here is that we do have a video that Kyle did, who works at Horizon. He's one of our social media gentlemen that work here. He made a video using the turbo timber as an example. And in that video, he goes through the entire safe select process, start to finish, and it's about 8 minutes long. And
Okay.
that same
That's good.
that video
It's all the
applies
same.
to,
Yeah.
and it's all the same. That video applies to all safe select models. They just start to finish, and it's in video. Like you're literally watching it as it happened. He does really good, to show you the screen and what's happening, and that goes a long way over a phone call. So
Yeah.
in that situation, and again, I'm more than happy to let Tom, to show you guys on the transfer just a preset of how that works. But that video, start to finish, walk you through all the way, show you how the airplane's going to react, everything. So definitely.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly give you a couple points like what to do here. Oh, I moved my screen here. So I would say one of the number one things that people don't do is to double check that they have a switch assigned to a channel. So they're like, oh, okay, I just flip a switch 5 times. So I'm on my monitor screen. I'm flipping my B switch, which I have assigned to AUX3, right? You need to make sure that you have a channel assigned to an open or a switch assigned to an open channel. So we go to channel assign, which is down here.
And the menu names, guys, are the same for like the DX8, 7, 9. They're all the same. So how the titles of these menus are the same. Just because they're using an IX20, it's no difference.
Right. So you'll see here that I have all of my channels here. So some of these might say INH or a different switch. You just need to make sure that you have a switch available. So the A10, it's got flaps and retracts. So your gear and your AUX1 are likely going to be preoccupied. So let's just say this is going to be switch D. And then gears normally on switch A. But let's say AUX2 you have open. So we're going to go to AUX2, and we're going to make sure we have a switch assigned. And you can just literally flip a switch. So if you tap on that, and then you flip the switch on the transmitter, it's going to assign it for you, okay? And then what I always do is I go back to the monitor screen, which is if you go to the main screen and you swipe to the right, you'll have your monitor screen. And I make sure that that switch is moving that channel, and that it's moving that channel to -100 to +100 on its full throw. So all the way up and all the way down should have 100 to -100. Right?
And it's important to note, guys, that if it's at like -90 or +90, that's the tolerance. So if it's lower than -90 or lower than 90, it's your receiver in the airplane is not seeing that movement. So it's not going to actually assign the switch. It has to be that -100 or that +100. And as Tom's going here, another big factor is your dual rates.
Yep. So let's say you have dual rates set up. Let's say, so one of the main things is you have to move both sticks to the center. So you put them down into the center. But it needs to see full transmitter travel or full stick travel. But if you have a dual rate that's set to 67, 70%, on your aileron, it's not going to see that. So we'll go to the monitor again. When I move full aileron, it's not going to be seeing full 100%. So the transmitter, the receiver for setting up safe select, is not going to say, oh, wait, okay, it's not seeing 100%. You're holding the sticks, you flip the switches, it's not going to do it. So you need to make sure that you have your dual rates at 100% and that you have a channel assigned to a switch. Those are pretty much the main things, I would say.
Absolutely. I would agree 100%. And again, just make sure if that doesn't help you, Ricardo, if that doesn't help you, go check out that video. If you go to YouTube and type in how to set up safe select in YouTube, look for the Horizon Hobby video that features the turbo timber.
Turbo timber. I would say look up turbo timber safe select and you'll probably find the video.
Yeah, very simple, great video. It's like 8 minutes long. And by the end of that video, you should feel confident in that safe's working.
Yeah. And then to test it out, you just put it in safe. Well, even then, so once safe select's turned on, when you plug in the battery, the control surfaces move twice. They'll go boop, 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 instead of once. So if it's not safe select, it'll just go doot, 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 and the control surfaces work once, and then it initializes. But if it's in safe select, it goes doot, 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 and it's twice. Hopefully that my hands looking like ailerons depicted that fine enough for everybody.
Yeah, actually, another way, if you don't see the ailerons moving enough, another way you could do it is when safe actually takes, when you hold the sticks down and inward and you toggle that switch rapidly, not only will the surfaces move briefly, indicating that it's been assigned, but if you're watching the receiver, if you have clear sight of the receiver, the solid amber light on the receiver that indicates that your receiver is paired to your transmitter, that'll go out for a minute, and then it will come right back on. That only happens when you've effectively assigned safe select.
Yep. You'll get like a little blip in control there. You'll see it there.
Yep. Very cool stuff.
Anything you see, Cody? It looks like Jason ditched us, huh?
No, he'll be here. He'll be here.
That's fine. We're having a good time with that.
Yeah. Jason will show up, 2 minutes before it's over. Okay, here we go. Hang on a second. Let's see. I had another question here.
I'm losing light. Sorry, guys, if I'm a little dark. I'm outside.
Why are all FMS models PMP, no bind and fly? FMS is its own entity. It's a brand that we carry, and they choose not to have. Some of their aircraft actually are RTF. So they do have their own transmitters. They do have their own receivers, and it's on a different protocol than what Spektrum uses. So most of their stuff that they sell is PMP, so it can be used in a wide variety, can be used with a wide variety of equipment, whether it be photography, Spectrum, whatever you're using, they choose to go that route because it can keep the cost of their aircraft down, and it allows consumers who don't need the receiver for that aircraft to put their own stuff in it.
Yeah. And if you're looking to put Safe Select or Safe into an FMS plane, look no further than the 637T.
Matthew, how does the A10 sound? I can't make the brat noise that it makes, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's twin 64 millimeter. Check out the videos. There's lots of videos out there of some influencers that we work with, like for example, Pilot Ryan. He's got some really cool videos out there of the A10. The RC Sailors, they got some really good videos out there. Chris Wolf, the RC Geek, great videos out there. You can see how the model performance and sounds and videos like that. You can also check out our launch video on Horizon Hobby. Really cool stuff there.
Definitely. Yeah, we try to make it a point to get some of the sounds of the aircraft in our launch videos, so it's always good to check those out.
Yeah, 200 driver. He's making fun of me over here. Yeah, I didn't make that noise very well. So again, guys, if you're just joining, Tom and I are here. Tom's from the Spektrum team. He represents Blade, Spektrum, again, quadcopters, things like that. All that good stuff that you see on his deck.
I do everything RC.
Yep.
Absolutely everything.
Yep. I handle the E-flite side, air side, as well as the real flight side. So if you have any questions pertaining to those brands or products, again, we can also help with some of the surface stuff. While that may not be our area of expertise, we're certainly able to give you some advice. So again, if you have any questions, just throw it in the chat. We're here to help.
For yourself. I can do some surface stuff pretty well. Let's see. Charlie's got a question here. What would you recommend as a power source for the S1200? So like a DC power source for the S1200, I would definitely recommend a power supply like our Spektrum power supply. There's a 30 amp and a 16 amp. The 30 amp power supply has 2 ports on it that you can power 2 chargers with. That's what I personally use. I have an S1200 and an S1500 off of both ports, and I'm able to fast charge with my 1500 and just kind of slowly charge with the 1200. So, but if you want to use a battery, like if you're out at the field and you don't have AC power available, I personally love to have a 7,000 milliamp 6S pack plugged into it. So particularly when I go out flying drones at a kind of a remote area, I always have a 7,000 milliamp pack. I can charge a good 4 or 5 drone packs off of that before it starts to get too low. So look for a 7,000 milliamp 6S. We actually sell a couple of those from Onyx and from Spektrum that would be a good power source for that. It's the more milliamps the better if you're looking for kind of a all-included no AC power source kind of charger solution.
Cliff Sims has a good question. What is the difference between AS3X and Safe Select? So AS3X is a feature. It is a gyro first and foremost for the roll, aileron, elevator, and rudder axis on an aircraft. With AS3X, if you're flying straight and level and you're coming in for a landing and you're not touching the sticks whatsoever, so you're not touching the transmitter, but the aircraft is gliding straight and level. If a big gust of wind hits the aircraft, AS3X is not seeing that as a commanded move from you, so it's going to do everything it can to keep the airplane level and keep it on the same heading. That's what AS3X does. Now, if you want to do full barrel rolls, you want to do flips, rolls, whatever you want to do, you can still do that because AS3X is seeing that as a commanded move from you. So there's no limitations whatsoever. There's just a gyro there that's helping keep the aircraft on the same path when you want it on that path, so to speak. Now, safe, on the other hand, is when you're in safe, The aircraft has banking limitations. So if the aircraft is sitting straight and level, when you go to give full right aileron on your transmitter to do a barrel roll, SAFE stops you at about 30 degrees. So you can't go any further. It also keeps you from being able to give too much down elevator. So the idea is that when you're in SAFE and you're a first-time pilot, as soon as you take off, if you accidentally give down elevator instead of up elevator, the aircraft isn't immediately going to go straight down, because then you're going to lose your investment, you're going to lose your confidence, you may end up getting out of the hobby. So SAFE takes away that down input from you, and it only gives you up input. So as you're going, you give up, and you can go up. If you give down, you will still be able to go down, but it's not as much. So you get limitations with SAFE, whereas with AS3X you don't, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it limits you to keep you from putting it into the ground. Well, one way I like to describe this is, and we always get this question, is what's AS3X, what is SAFE? AS3X is kind of the foundation. I like to think of it like a pyramid. So AS3X is the bottom of the pyramid, and then you have SAFE, which is the middle part of the pyramid, and then you have SAFE Plus or SAFE Select at the top. And the reason I say that is because AS3X is the gyro stabilization, and then SAFE is kind of the heading stabilization, and then SAFE Plus is extra technology on top of that, like self-landing and things like that.
Right.
So just kind of, you can't really have SAFE without AS3X. They kind of work with each other at that point.
Absolutely. Christopher Fletcher had a good question. Will Retrax ever come to UMX planes in the future? Honestly, Chris, probably not. And the reason why is one, cost, and two, the materials that are used to make UMX models. They're very thin. For example, the UMX Citation wing, the thickness of that wing is probably about 1/4 of an inch. It's very small. So you wouldn't get a sustainable system in there that would work well. And if
it would be really cool, wouldn't it?
It would be very cool. But if we did, you would probably, see a price increase of $50 or $60. And
you'd be paying almost as much as a plug and play. Like
exactly. You'd be looking, the Citation would probably be somewhere, upwards of $200, $230 if it had retracts. And it's just not, it's really not worth it. And if you have the UMX Citation, for example, which is one of the latest releases from E-flite, the landing gear on that just pulls right out. It's got a steerable nose wheel, and all that just pulls right out. So you can make it, you can get that look like the retract syrup just by pulling it off and belly landing. So it's just not feasible right now. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a price standpoint to incorporate UMX in our UMX retracts.
Sadly, it's probably not going to happen. But I mean, if there's some sort of crazy, advancement in that kind of technology that makes it cheaper, maybe one day. We'll see.
Right. All right. This gentleman had a good question. He said that he purchased an AeroScout RTF. Must I first check the range? Must I first do a range check? So I'm going to answer that with a yes. Anytime that you have a brand new aircraft, whether it be a bind and fly, a plug and play, you're putting a receiver in, if you have not tested that receiver and transmitter before, always do a range check. It's kind of like full scale in a way, but in a different scenario. You've got to pre-flight the aircraft, make sure your surfaces are working, do everything that you need to do so you're sure to have success with your first flight. So definitely do a range check in your model to make sure everything's kosher.
My input on that would be, I always do a range test, even if I've range tested the model before. If I've changed something electronic in the model, you never know what kind of electronic interference will happen. And I'm kind of a stickler for range testing. I try to range test at least once while I'm at the field, just to make sure my transmitter itself, even if I haven't changed anything on the radio. And it's just because, and it's nothing against like a particular radio system or anything like that. It's just it's due diligence. It's just something that you should do. It's 30 seconds to a minute of your time to make sure everything's working properly.
Absolutely. And I mean, it could save you a lot of headache in the long run too.
Yeah.
Tom, good question for you from Gil here.
Is there a way to limit the SAFE sensitivity or direction? I'm not exactly sure what he means.
I think what he's referring to is when you're in SAFE and you give full right aileron, the aircraft stops you at about 30 degrees. He wants to know if you can increase that deflection, meaning that instead of it stopping at 30 degrees, can it stop at, say, 60 degrees?
So what I would say to that is with SAFE models, with models that come with SAFE in it, no, there is no way to adjust that because that's the way we have tuned the aircraft for that specific aircraft. Such as like EDF models, we have the SAFE bank limit turned up so that you can bank and yank a little harder, whereas like a timber, it might be turned down. But the AR637T are safe, enabled, fully programmable, safe, AS3X, and smart receiver. You are able to change that sensitivity, so to say, with that receiver. So on forward programming, you can say, okay, I want my safe bank angle limit to be 40 degrees on aileron, but I want it to be 90 degrees on elevator. You can change that however you see fit, and you can put that on the switch. So you could have one switch be lower bank angle and another switch to be higher bank angle. It's up to you. So yeah, if you want to look into the AR637T, that is a great option for doing that. You need something. If you want to tune that and play around with it, it's great.
637T is going to be revolutionary. I mean, everything's done directly off your transmitter. No need to have a separate, secondary software or anything like that. Super handy, and it's
so much better.
Step by step for you guys too. Like step one, do this. Step two,
through it. We've got a whole video series on it.
Right.
My friend Miguel did a video series on it as well. Dave is working on a video series on it. So lots of good content and how to set it up.
Absolutely.
It's super easy. The manual's actually pretty good too.
Yep, absolutely.
Sometimes people don't like to read manuals, but that one's pretty good, so keep it around.
Right. I am looking forward though. I want to be able to transfer models back and forth. So I hope we get some development there. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon, I didn't see your question. Let's see.
I hope everybody's having a great day. Good week. Happy Friday. Good times.
Here we go, Gordon. What causes ESCs to get so hot? Use 6S 3200 milliamp hour smart pack on a Viper and it gets so hot only 3 minutes. Well, 6S is a lot of power. If you're full throttle, hot and heavy into the pack throughout the majority of the flight, and if you're only getting 3 minutes, it's probably what I'm assuming you may be doing. Full throttle on a jet like that, your ESC is going to get hot. Now, depending on hot is, I'd really need to know the temperature of your ESC. If it's, somewhere where you're getting over 180, 200 degrees, then absolutely I'd probably be concerned. But usually ESCs will be pretty hot to the touch. They shouldn't be burning your finger.
They'll get warm. They should be
hot to the touch. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, especially on EDFs because they pull a lot of amps. Every EDF I've flown, even prop-driven aircraft, like the P-51 1.5 meter at full throttle, if you're full throttle for the majority of the flight, that motor is going to be warm. That ESC is going to be warm. That's just the nature of the beast. Only way I could tell you if you're having a problem there is to actually get to take a temp reading of it, and I'd be able to tell you what's actually going on.
Yeah, and just make sure you have adequate cooling. It depends on the model, but yeah, just make sure that's it's in the air path for the ESC.
Right. Right. There we go. Steve's got a question for you, Tom.
I see an AR636 is back in product line. Yes, that's a good question. So we have brought back the AR636 in a way. It's back as the AR636B, which is really an OEM replacement. And the reason for that is just to be able to have a replacement receiver for bind and fly aircraft. So there is a number of those in stock that are available for you to purchase if you need a replacement for a receiver for a plane, or if you want to use the 636's programming instead of the 637, which we've mentioned a lot today. But if you're building an aircraft and you need a receiver for stabilization and safe like that, I would implore you to look at the 637T. The AR637T is the next step in evolution of AS3X and safe technology. But we do have a 636B, so remember that B is in Bravo, that you are able to pick up if you need a replacement for a bind and fly model. It is pretty much the same thing as an AR636, except for it doesn't have the remote receiver port, it doesn't have the X-Bus port, and it doesn't have there's like a little, what we call an LNA at the end of the antenna. What that means is it's a low noise amplifier. For smaller models, it's not a big deal. You don't really need that. Hi, Jason.
Yeah, Jason. Hello. Hey, better late than never, man.
An hour and a half late. What is this?
Hey, I was in another meeting, and literally as I was about to press the button to join, Steve called. He's like, "Hey, man, I got some questions." So yeah. Anyway, here I am. Better late than never.
Did you have to run to Alta and pick up some makeup or something before you could go on the live?
I think they opened up today, so
I think they did too. I think that was. I figured you stopped by, had to get some hair product or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I clearly did my hair today.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could be hiding it. Maybe you're practicing, didn't do it right. I don't know.
No, as a matter of fact, you know, I will say this last meeting that a lot of us were just in is it's one of those things that people are they won't know about for like 6 months, but 6 months from now they'll be like, oh yeah, that was what they were working on.
What are we working on?
Jason's hinting towards new product. It sounds like.
No.
What are you? Sorry, I like those kind of things. So does our customers. They want to know. They want to know. Is there anything we can tease today? Nothing.
Can we tease something today? Of course. I mean, all kinds of things. I will probably use this one for as long as we can, which will be for a lot longer, I think. You know, I like red airplanes.
Oh, I knew I was going to say the red.
I've heard you guys talk about this. What is a red airplane? What is this?
I mean, it's got red on it.
Okay.
That's
well,
all. That's it.
It's not a Draco Malfoy.
Yeah, it's not related to Harry Potter.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. Okay.
It's not related. You know, what you're doing is you're preparing people for disappointment.
I don't think anybody will be disappointed.
It's a red airplane, guys.
Yeah,
that's all we can say.
I can't wait. Oh my gosh, that thing is so cool.
So the good news is
maybe more than one red airplane. Who knows?
I was honestly afraid that I was going to log on here and somebody's house was going to be on fire or something with the two of you guys. Doing your own thing here.
Okay.
The good news is
Tom, help!
It's all good. It's all good. You guys are still here. That's good. I see people shouting out to me. Jeff's Custom RC. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
GB Linden, Boogeyman, Scottabot. Not Draco, please. Oh, Scottabot doesn't want Draco. Huh.
What?
That's the only one.
He has no idea.
Maybe he's being facetious.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. What did I miss? What have you guys been talking about?
We've just been answering questions.
2 more questions, just hanging out with everybody.
So here's a question for you, Jason. Does Horizon sell shorter sticks for the DX6?
So I think the answer to that is no, because you can shorten the stock sticks.
Oh, how do you do that?
If I'm not mistaken, I don't have a transmitter in front of me. It's been a while since I've done. Normally, out of the box, I will almost always adjust my sticks once. And the stick itself is threaded. So, well, there's a stick coming out of the gimbal that has threads on it. And then the actual stick end is threaded. That threads onto it. Inside of the stick end, if you look very closely, and a lot of guys probably haven't noticed this, there's actually a hex screw in there. The idea is that you loosen that hex screw, you can tighten the stick end down, and then once you get it to the right place,
that you guys are going to be, there's a hex screw. I think it's a 1.5 or a 2 millimeter hex. You loosen that up, and then you can tighten the stick down. But we actually, contrary to what Jason said, we do sell shorter stick ends.
Oh, we do. Oh.
Let's see if I can't pull them up on our website.
I felt like you can make the stock ones pretty short.
You can make them pretty short. So I would first try that. But also they're an M3 stick end, so they're a 3 millimeter stick end. So if you can find any M3 stick end, there's a lot of them out there. You can change the sticks out as well. So,
what is happening behind you, Cody?
I'm just having a party over here, Jason. I got music playing back here that they can't hear. I'm just hanging out, letting you guys do your thing, and I'm trying to give everybody in the chat a seizure.
Yeah,
we do here. No, this is pretty cool. Like I said,
but we have a number of gimbal sticks. So if you look at our Horizon and you look up gimbal stick, you're going to see some different stick ends that you can get.
Can you can share your screen, right? I think
so. Sorry, it's been a little bit.
I think you might be able to show them that. And yeah, share screen is out at the bottom. But yes, not a lot of people realize that all stick ends, well, the vast majority of stick ends, at least on Spektrum transmitters, are adjustable. So again, you can unscrew it and then tighten the hex screw inside down to stop it at that height. You can loosen that and then tighten the stick end down, and again, retighten that hex. And I'm almost positive it's a 1.5 millimeter.
Yeah, I think it is too. Yeah, so you just loosen up or what I like to call a grub screw and tighten it down, and there you go. So
Yep. Yeah, David Wagner. It is a 1.5 hex exactly. Yeah, so not a lot of guys. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, some of our transmitters come with an L wrench, And
They
people have
do.
always-
I know a lot of people are like, what is
that's
this for?
and that's technically what it's for. And for those guys that haven't actually done this, I strongly recommend trying different stick lengths. I know that if I go to all my transmitters and I measure from about where my finger rests on the side of the case to the top of the stick, inherently, after I've adjusted them all by kind of gut feel, they almost all ended up within like 0.5 millimeter of each other. And so there is definitely like a place that just feels right. Now I'm a pinch guy. I'm not a thumbs guy. Some guys that are thumbs guys really like short sticks. I get that. I think maybe because I'm a pincher, I like my stick a little longer. I'd say I'm probably in the middle. But again, most of the sticks come out of the box pretty close to my length, and I don't have to adjust them much. But some people might want to adjust them more.
Darius had a question.
My other view.
Looking for a new Spektrum radio. Any recommendations? Darius, what are you coming from? What do you have right now?
You know what? Let's. What's your recommendation, Cody? What would you recommend?
Well, considering, like I said, with most of our safe aircraft, if you're flying an aircraft that has, retracts and flaps as well, throttle, aileron, elevator, and rudder, that's 6 channels right there. So I think the optimum premium channel transmitter right now is probably going to be the DX8E. I think it's just well equipped to fit most of Horizon applications going forward.
I personally am going to recommend an IX12 or an IX20 because you're going to be at the forefront of Spektrum technology if you grab one of those transmitters. Yes, they're a little bit more costly, but it is going to get you all the technology that's available. And it's going to be spending that cheddar.
Spending that cheddar. And if you can't spend that cheddar, then my recommendation is the DX8. Love the DX8.
Yep.
DX8 gets the job done. In fact, maybe some guys have noticed this, but a lot of times when you see me fly in our videos, I'm almost always using the DX8. It's a simple to use transmitter. It's got voice alerts. It's got nice feeling stick ends and gimbals and rubber grips. It's a definite step up from the DX6E and DX8E.
Yep.
And I know it is more expensive than, it's about $100 more, if I'm not mistaken, than the DX8E. And it's worth every penny because you get the nicer feeling transmitter, and you also get the rechargeable LiPo battery in there as well, and voice alerts is the big thing.
Right.
Yeah, the DX8 is actually a great radio. I love that one.
It's very affordable and can do everything that you would need.
It feels good. It's got great gimbals in it. It's got all the functions you need.
Chip wants to know, can you explain the relationship between Horizon, E-flite, and Spektrum? Jason's Horizon, I'm E-flite, and Tom is Spektrum. No. So Horizon Hobby is the company. That is where we are employed. E-flite is a sub-brand of Horizon, and Spektrum is a sub-brand of Horizon. So E-flite is primarily the air side, whereas Spektrum is primarily the radio, transmitter, receivers, electronics, things of that nature.
Yep. So imagine it somewhat along the lines of, I like to use car analogies whenever I can because a lot of people get that. So you've got Ford. Ford is the manufacturer, and they have sub brands or brands like Lincoln and
Mercury.
Obviously Ford. Yeah. So that's basically Horizon Hobby is Ford or GM, and then our brands below. That's what Spektrum is. E-flite, Hangar 9, tons and tons of brands that we've got and that we own.
It's the parent company. I like to say it's an umbrella. And then you got the smaller brands underneath it. So we're all one company. We all work in the same building. So Spektrum, Hangar 9, E-flite, we're all in the same building.
Absolutely.
We do, yes. And, each of the brands is run a little differently. So, for example, Spektrum has a lot more engineers working on that brand in particular because obviously there's a lot more engineering and
hardware
Spektrum
engineers,
products.
software engineers, mechanical engineers.
Exactly. Right. And before it gets too far, I saw a good question here that let me back up here and see if I can show that. Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Shoot. Here we go. There you guys. Can you guys see that? Yes. From Matthew Nichols. Jason, what is the best sounding E-flite EDF? I have
the fourth time we've heard this question. What is the best
sounding
E-flite? Yes, everybody asks.
Yes.
They all sound the same to me. They all sound like a Dyson vacuum to me.
They do. It's true. But I will say this. There's one that sounds really awesome in the air. And it's not because it sounds like an EDF. It's because it sounds more real than almost all of our EDF airplanes. And that's the F-18. The F-18 sounds spectacular. I don't know how to describe it. People that have heard it in person will probably agree. It's this whoosh sound that sounds, again, almost like a real turbine, a real jet engine. And it's very unique. And it's partly because you've got the 2 inlet ducts going into one fan, and then it's got the 2 exhaust outlets because in the real world, it's a twin engined airplane.
Yeah.
and we're cheating it down to 1. And I think we've got that bifurcated duct, and that's why we're getting that kind of whooshy, almost dirty air sound, so to speak.
Sure.
It's not exactly as efficient as a straight through, for example, like an F86 or a MiG-15 would probably have a very, very efficient whooshy sound if it was the same fan in one of those airframes. But then on top of that, the Su30, because it's a twin, it sounds freaking spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Very spectacular.
Yeah, I would say that's probably due to my virgin ears. That's probably the best sounding EDF. I don't fly. I personally don't fly many EDFs. I don't have great luck with them. I always overfly them. I have too much fun, and then I'm like, oh wait, that's LVC, and I put it.
Yes, you do not want to fly to LVC on a jet.
Yep.
It's one place you might get away with it with certain jets like the Viper. You might be able to get away with it, landing that thing dead stick, or even our new A10. But the vast majority of jets, especially F-16s, which are really draggy, F-18, F-4, pretty draggy airplanes. Yeah,
I didn't make it on the F-15 at RC Fest. I did not make it back with the F-15.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember looking at walking out to get.
My Bayhawk went down at RC Fest too.
Although it landed perfectly. There was no damage with it out there in that field. But yeah, I hit LVC for all of you guys and had to go walk out there and get it while you guys
walk of shame, bro.
Yeah.
Which
I put it back. I put it in the back, and everybody was just like, man, wasn't there an F-15 in there? Like, oh, maybe he landed. They didn't know what happened because it was perfect. It was perfect. I put it way out of everybody's sight.
No shame to anybody that runs LVC. We've all done it, right?
Yep. Get smart in there, and know what your voltage is at. Get smart in there.
Yeah.
Right. That was going to be my shameless plug for smart. And as we continue to build out the smart ecosystem and put more smart receivers and smart ESCs into our airplanes, you'll have that extra benefit of the telemetry to pre-warn you even before LVC. You can have, voltage alerts that you set, and that is going to be a little bit dependent on the plane, the performance of your battery, the temperature outside and things. But in essence, you should be able to have a voice alert that tells you well before you hear the LVC of the airplane.
Absolutely. I did see a question here, Jason. I'm not sure if you know. When is the Su30 going to be available to order in the EU? I was pulling it up right now.
Yeah, last time I tried to pull up our inventory system, it blew up my feed. So if you can see, that'll be good. I'm guessing they're on the way now, and so it should be in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if they're all spoken for. That is one airplane that's definitely outsold expectations, and I think Europe, they should have enough coming to fill the orders, though.
Yeah, I'm showing. It looks like we're supposed to have them there, and by the end of May, first week of June is what I'm showing.
Yeah, I think they're on the way now. I think they just left the factory recently, so that makes sense. Yep.
Good luck getting one, though, man. Those are hot.
Yeah, it looks like our shipment is going to be close to sold out already. So if you're not on the back order system there in the UK, definitely get your hands on one because we're close.
Yes, in EU, yes, definitely get on the back order list for sure. And check this out. We've got
Su30 has been hot since it came out, guys. So for the guys who have been trying to get one, again, we can't stress this enough. When we have a pre-order or we have a new release and you're interested in it, sometimes we get unexpected sales. It blows up in popularity, and we have a hard time keeping them in stock. So that's the situation with the Su30. Every time we get a shipment in, they're sold out. So it's important that when an airplane comes out and you have the option to do a pre-order or a back order, that reserves your spot in line. It's first come, first serve. So don't wait for that in-stock notification. Do it, because then once they do come in stock, you'll be in line to get one.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So I pulled up another question here from Charlie. Can I put the E-flite serverless payload release to drop my P39 drop tank? What do you guys think?
Should be able to. I think it's going to take a little bit of modeling, but it's definitely doable.
Yeah, with ingenuity, anything's possible, right?
Yeah, that thing's awesome. I've used it, done so many little projects. It's just fun.
It's been around forever. It's like one of the longest running E-flite accessories, I feel like.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the combat module?
I don't think the combat module would be approved in today's climate. That's for sure.
No, all right.
He's sending a signal to cut throttle off to your airplane in an environment does not sound like a good idea anymore. So
that was a good one. Pull that comment back up. That was a good read. That was cool.
All right. right, I'll read it out. I cannot thank you guys enough. I have always desired to fly RC, but never had the opportunity to growing with it. And now I am 53 and I have a busy schedule and no time to learn to fly. But thank you for Safe Select. 1 year ago, I started with your June night.
Wow, that's the P51.
P51. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Guys at the club thought I couldn't, but thank God it worked. The only problem I have now is 13 planes.
Oh man, Chip, it only goes worse from there, man.
True.
Yes,
Thank you, Chip.
so,
We appreciate
yes.
that. That's great.
Thank you for sharing that, and I think that's good for the audience to kind of to see that story, hear that story. So here's someone that dreamed of flying RC, didn't have an opportunity, didn't have the time, and he actually decided. And I'm guessing he chose the P51 because that's the subject matter that excited him. And even though it's probably still not the best training platform because it's probably not going to hold up to hard landings as well as, like an apprentice would or a timber even. But with Safe Select, you can learn to fly an airplane like that. It's pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Claps for Chip. That was awesome.
Yes.
I love it. A lot of people, like especially the old timer guys at the field, like, oh, you don't need Safe. That's just a crutch. It's just a way to grow. It's a way to include everybody into the RC hobby. So
training wheels, optional use training wheels. You don't have to use them if you don't want to. You can use them as much as you want to. You can turn them on and off. It's a good tool to have in your back pocket, and it's also a great way to get in the air. And I'll tell you, I always explain this to people, and I'm not sure they get it until you actually get them flying. That just the experience of looking at something that's flying and moving around the sky and having your hands on the sticks, that eye-hand coordination, and then learning the behavior of the airplane in the air, that's a lot to process.
Less
when you're first
intimidation.
Yes, and with Safe On, you have one less thing to worry about. So,
I did see another question here from ePowered RC. Do you guys know when the light set for the UMX Ultrix will be in stock?
I've been waiting for that too, man.
First came out. I just pulled up the order here, and it looks like they're due to be in here in the middle of June, guys. So there is about a month delay on those, but they are coming.
Yes, make sure you back order a set if you haven't already. You're going to want those. I think outsold expectation. A lot more people put lights in it than we thought they were going to.
Yeah. Here's a question for you, Cody. What adapter or dongle is needed to use RealFlight 9 with a Futaba transmitter?
It should be the same one that's always been used.
Yeah, that one with like that little square-looking plug.
Yeah,
right?
it's the same one that we've always used. I believe it's on Tower Hobbies and not Horizon.
So, well, here's the thing, and I'm not sure if he can maybe give us a little more information. If you have RealFlight already installed on your computer and you bought just the software, you still are going to need the Interlink DX controller. And then you have to buy, there's a patch cable set that goes from a Futaba trainer port, which in this case can be the square or the round one. We include both in the package. You plug that into your transmitter, then you plug that into the Interlink. And the Interlink basically is processing all the data from your transmitter and putting it into RealFlight. You will not be able to use a Futaba transmitter wireless, for example, like you can do with a
Sounds like you need to get a Spektrum transmitter.
Well, yeah.
Yes, I would concur.
Yeah, I agree. The Ultrix is a killer plane. I love that plane. One question we had earlier, and it was from our friend Fry. He had asked, are RC airplanes dangerous? And yes, of course they are. But the Ultrix is probably one of those ones that is the least dangerous, in my opinion. You can't really, I don't think you could hurt anybody with that. What would you think, Jason?
If you hit them right in the eye, you probly could. But generally speaking, as small as it is, as light as it is,
with the tiny like 1.5 inch props. But yes, RC airplanes, RC anything can be dangerous. RC cars, RC boats. It's just one of those things. You gotta be careful.
Yes.
Another good one here. Gabriel, this summer my family plans to go Flaming George in Utah. What is a great first float plane that you would recommend? Honestly, I have one of two. I think the Apprentice STS on floats is amazing.
It is amazing.
I love that airplane on floats. It's got a steerable water rudder on the back, so you can navigate relatively well. And then another one's probably going to be the Turbo Timber. And the reason why I mentioned that one is because on the Apprentice's situation, the floats are optional. You have to purchase those separately. With the Turbo Timber, they come included in the package, in the box, at no extra cost. Also has two steerable water rudders on the back, and that airplane is also hands down amazing on water as well.
Another awesome float plane is the Carbon Z Cub. That thing is great. I've been flying that. I fly that almost at least once a weekend.
Right.
If it's a nice weekend, I'll take that out to the lake.
That's like your second or third float plane, though. If
Yeah.
you're looking to start with one, definitely go with the Apprentice STS or maybe even the Turbo Timber. Good airplanes for sure to start with on floats. Let's see. Michael, love the E-flite Extra 300. Are you guys thinking of doing any more 3D planes in the future, or is 3D a low volume product? I think and Jason might be able to tune on this a little bit. I think there's just shifts in the market. When things get popular, we tend to do more models based off those types of scenarios. So, for example,
we've been doing a lot more sport planes lately.
Yeah, sport planes and EDFs right now. Jets are a big thing in the industry right now. So Horizon, does invest a lot in those types of models. 3D at one point was very heavy, and if you remember Hangar 9 a few years back, we had a ton of 3D models that you could build and get into. Same thing on the foam line as well. So as the market shifts, we tend to shift with it. So 3D is definitely not out of the question for us.
I think 3D is picking back up, man. I
think it is too. I think it is too. But hence why we have the Extra 300. I mean, it's a great product. It hits home for a lot of people. It's a good size, good price. So I mean, absolutely, keep checking back. We'll always have something in the 3D lineup from E-flite, I would imagine. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that Cody nailed it. The market changes and we kind of go with it. And 3D was super hot maybe 10, 15 years ago. For sure, 15 years ago, it was almost all the rage. Everybody was flying 3D. But one of the things that I think people are starting to realize again is that even if an airplane is 3D capable, you don't have to fly it that way. But a lot of the attributes that make it 3D capable, usually like wing loading, very symmetrical, upright and inverted flying, make them very smooth flying, very precise flying, and on low rates in particular. They're just really good flying airplanes. So the Extra, for example, the vast majority of people that I see fly that airplane, they're not even 3D pilots. They're just enjoying it because it's a really smooth, locked in, precise feeling airplane that has relatively low wing loading. Of course, it looks nice. I like the looks of that one in particular myself. And then the Timber X, I think, is one that really opened the eyes for people, or opened people's eyes to 3D in general, because you don't have to have an Extra 300 to do 3D. The Timber X is basically a Timber.
Fun. It'll flat spin all day. That thing's great.
Yep,
it's a cool airplane.
Very cool.
Really cool airplane.
But Gordon, can you look back? Gordon's been trying to bug us. He's had a question for a little while.
Yeah, I was actually just going through the comments trying to find his original, so I'm not sure where his question stems from.
Yeah, but I want to get him taken care of.
Here we go. I got it right here. If I can work out with Horizon, do you think a 50C 3200 milliamp hour 6S pack would help with my ESCs burning up and me losing airplane in the river next to field? So I think I might be able to answer that one, Gordon. So batteries tend to not be the source of your issue for a crash unless you're running it to LVC and you're basically killing power to your speed controller. There's no more power. You lose control. It goes down. So the C rating isn't going to play a factor there. A higher milliamp hour pack is going to give you a longer flight time, but you definitely want to make sure you're compensating that by either using a timer or keeping the aircraft close to you so you can listen for when the motor indicates LVC. The motor will pulse and make an audible noise once it hits LVC, and usually you have about less than a minute to land the airplane at that point. Now, if you're losing airplanes, I would either say that it's either due to range, perhaps maybe you're having, like I said, signal failure or something along those lines. That's more common than the battery being the source of the problem, unless you're running it to LVC and the battery's dying.
Yeah, range check is always a great thing. Go ahead and do that. Make sure it's passing a range check, and then run it up on the ground. Tie it down, throttle up for 30 seconds, and see if the throttle's cutting out. You might have something that's just causing it to pull more amperage than it needs to. Another thing to look at is motor desync. I mean, I don't know what kind of setup you have, but it's hard to say what that could be. But I would agree with Cody. I doubt it's the battery that has to do with it.
Unless you're running it to where it's dead. And again, and if you're not running a smart setup, if you're not running a smart battery, smart receiver, smart transmitter that's updated so you can monitor the voltage that you're depleting while in flight, take advantage of the timer. Set yourself a timer. Most EDFs get 3 to 4 minutes. Be conservative. Give yourself 3 minutes. Fly, land. Use the Spektrum Smart Checker and see what your cells are reading afterwards. And then you can make adjustments to your timer from that. Going forward.
Yeah.
Also, if
you can even try different props too. Like if you have a smart ESC, you can see what kind of amperage you're pulling with one prop compared to another. and
Right.
you can get a more efficient setup that way.
Right. So timer, monitor your batteries, check them after the crash. If you did have a crash, you should have the voltage information of your battery. That's going to tell you right off the get-go. I mean, after the crash, if your battery's hovering around 3 volts a cell, 3 volts per cell, or even 3.1 or 3.2 volts per cell, you're probably right at the brink of LVC, and that's what caused you to lose control of your model.
Yeah, someone mentioned that he said he was burning up the ESC, so it's hard to say what would be causing that.
Yeah, that could be a motor too. I mean, I've seen bad motors burn up ESCs.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Oh, Viper. Okay, he's talking about the Viper jet.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of, I would say that you probably want to contact our product support team in that situation, because there's several questions that we would need to ask you to interact with to be able to give you the correct response. Like I said, if you've replaced more than one ESC and the ESC keeps failing, then I would agree with Tom. It's likely a motor that's causing the failure. It's pulling more amps than what the ESC can handle, and that's what's causing it to fail.
Yeah. Or bearing in the motor or something like that.
And I have seen that before. Is it common? Absolutely not. But again, I don't think the battery would be the source of the problem there. So again, contact our product support team. They're available. They're open right now, and they'd be able to help you, troubleshoot that a little further, more in depth for sure.
Yeah. So we only have a couple more minutes, guys, and then we'll be going live. Our weekly Real Flight live stream with Jim T. Graham. For those that know RC groups very well, he's going to be on the show. He's going to be flying a bit and then also telling us some stories. And for those that have never heard Jim T. tell a story, he is one of the greatest storytellers ever.
Check out the podcast, the RC on the Horizon podcast with Jim T. Graham. That's probably my favorite one so far.
Yes, good stuff. Do want to give a special shout out to the RC Sailors. Hey, everyone. Glad we caught you live. Thanks for having us on the show last week. Guys, Nate and Abby, thank you for coming to the show last week. We appreciate you guys. That show was awesome. We got to meet Nate and Abby. Again, huge influencers of the hobby. They're very passionate about aviation and RC in general. They have a very family-friendly oriented channel. Again, it's just the RC Sailors. Check them out on YouTube. They do tons of content, guys. If you're looking to get into the hobby and you don't know where to start, check out their channel. They got all kinds of cool stuff. And again, we had them on our show last week, so you can definitely find that on our YouTube channel as well if you want to see, where they come from, how they started, how they met. Specifically, this is a funny one, and I'm only going to say it because they're probably watching, but their daughter's named Amelia, and I thought it was after Amelia Earhart, which Nate agrees, and Abby didn't. So they have a little internal battle there between them, and it's super fun.
That's funny.
Lots of cool stuff in their family.
Good people.
Really cool channel. Good people for sure.
Yeah.
One last quick technical question here before we sign off. You got an answer for this one, Tom?
Will the smart checker put a load on the servos when testing them? It depends on what load you have put on the servo itself. So if you have an arm on the servo and you hold it and you use the smart checker to cycle the servo, yes, you are putting on a load. And it'll even give you a little readout in milliamps how much that load is. So it's a great way for you to be able to tell if you have a servo that's going bad, or things like that. If the load is too much, and you can
or a surface that's binding. Yep, exactly.
Or a surface that's binding, things like that. So absolutely, yes, you can.
Oh, one more. Here's a question. I see this every once in a while.
The IX12 color. So it's a limited edition thing. Maybe not. We had the blue and the orange and the white and the red and the green and the yellow. So what colors would you guys like to see? Make sure to tag us or comment or anything you guys want to for the Spektrum page. We might be able to do that.
It does take a lot of work to be able to make a transmitter have a special, unique color case, guys, and there's got to be demand for it. I mean, it's an expensive radio. We can't just make it a one-off because we want to have demand for it. I personally have the white one. I think it's awesome. It's a super cool one.
Blue.
He's got the
way
blue
to go.
one. I mean,
maybe blue.
Blue is awesome. White's cool. I mean, everybody's got their subject matter, but it's expensive to make that happen. So if there's demand for it, we'll do it for sure.
We literally only produce like 100 at a time, so you gotta get them while they're available.
Awesome.
So
well,
we better sign off.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. So for those that are watching on YouTube, you wouldn't be able to see the Real Flight live there, but if you're on Facebook, you can see that. It'll be live here in a few minutes. And we'll be doing that every week following this show. So 5 o'clock every Friday, 5 Central, so 6 Eastern. And then we'll be back here next week.
I'm going to do a shout out for the RC Hobby Shop fundraiser that we're running on Spektrum or on Horizon Hobbies Facebook or on our website. Make sure you get a shirt or a sticker pack, or just make a $10 donation. That's going to go a long way to help out your local hobby shop.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely help out your local
All right.
shops. They're all closed.
We better jump off before Steve tells us.
Gets on here and
Time to
yell
get
at us.
kicked off.
Right after this,
All right.
guys, hang out, check out the Real Flight. We're gonna have a special guest on there. Lots of cool stuff.
Jim T.
Flies. So cool. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Thanks, Tom, for
Thanks for joining us, Tom.
You're welcome. That was fun.
Jason,
Bye,
thanks for
everybody.
showing up. All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.